Welcome back to Factorio Launch Per Second. Well, folks, are you ready? No, we're not finished yet. We've only got half the factory online, but since last episode and this one, I've gone through and I made sure every one of the rocket silos has its smart inserter. It's connected up with red wire. It has the condition. There's a constant combinator at the beginning. We are only connected to half of them in terms of fully supplying though. But back to the question, are you ready for a test firing of half of the Mercer? That should give us a launch every 2 seconds if everything hangs together. Here's the satellite production. As I've said before, this can only handle enough for half the factory. It's still trying to buffer up. The first row is the belt is fully buffered in the first row, and the second row not fully buffered yet. It's round about halfway in the second row. In the third row, we're slightly better than halfway. In the fourth row, we're sort of in between the two. This one isn't so advanced because I had the direction of this round the wrong way, so I fixed that as well. As you can see, all of these have the circuit condition. At the very beginning, we have a constant combinator. I just have to set that to a 1 and half the factory will light up. But before we do, I thought I would just show you a few things that we've been wondering about for a while. Oil is one of them. So oil, we've got 10k crude just sitting there, of course. We're actually at 7k petroleum and 7k light and 10k heavy. So if you remember our conditions, basically we will build we'll convert heavy to light as long as light is less than 7, so that's why it's got to 7, and as long as heavy is greater than 4, which it is, but it's all the way at 10 now. And you can see these occasionally flickering on and off because we are using it to supply the satellites. So the same sort of thing went with petroleum. If light's greater than 4, which it is now, and if petroleum is less than 7, which, well, every now and then it flickers there and these start up. So that was sorted. The other thing was, what about sulfuric acid? And yes, sulfuric acid is now up to 8k, which is the point where we actually start letting sulfur, there you go, you can see it then, sulfur dioxide vent directly. So fortunately I'm not sniffing this because that tends to be a bit stinky in real life. What else? What else? Not much else. Everything else seems to be fine at the moment. There are some slow bots that I should try and get rid of. Whoops. Aside from that, as you can see, a lot of these rockets are ready to go. Unfortunately, they probably will all go more or less at the same time, except for the ones that don't have a satellite in them immediately. And this is maximum normal zoom, which of course means you can't see all of them at once, and that would kind of be a shame, wouldn't it? Fortunately, there is actually a console command, which is this one here, and I might have to type it in. Game dot player dot zoom equals 0.1. And that actually... that work? No. Hang on a second. Does that work? Yes, that works. So that's it. Now, one thing I do want to point out before we go too much further is that there's a reason the zoom is limited to how it is limited in the game. And that is that the computer doesn't actually map as far would it hasn't actually mapped out infinitely. So if you use this zoom command at the edge of your map, you may have an unpredictable result, since the computer doesn't actually know what's out there, so it might show you something wrong, or I think in older versions it may have even crashed the computer, so I don't recommend it. But we're right in the middle of our mini-map, so it's not such a big problem. And at this zoom we can actually see all of them take off. So let's see if I can get to the constant combinator and do a test. A test of the first 4 rows firing. That should give us a rate of about 2 per second. We're at 566 now. We have a... well, I've got a timer. Oops, I've just ruined the zoom so that I could find this. I might have to redo the zoom. Just let me have a sip of coffee. There is a lot that could go wrong. Just so you know, I'm not 100% confident everything's just going to work. Hopefully it does. If it does, we won't be too far off finishing off the bottom of the factory and getting to our 1 per second. But 1 every 2 seconds is still pretty good. Are you ready? Okay. How many minutes should we give this? 5 maybe? Go. Let's run out here. Nothing's happening. You know why nothing's happening? I don't know. Because I didn't do this correctly, did I? Let's try that again. Just a second. Should really set up my timer, shouldn't I? On my silly phone. Yes, timer. Okay, let's put a 1 there, hit start, and oh, come on, phone. Start. Oh well. And we're missing it. We don't want to miss it. Look at them all go. Right, let's get that zoom happening. Now we should be able to see as each one takes off. Now, I never said that I was going to have it launching regularly 1 and then, you know, a short wait and then, you know, another one launching. There's one. It's an average of every at the moment, every 2 seconds we get a launch, so we get 30 launches a minute. That's basically what we're saying. What do we have here? 566. So we've had 40 launches. And we've had a minute as well. But then, you know, everything was fully buffered, so that's sort of to be expected. We can zoom in a little bit. That's probably better, given that we can only do 40 at once. Oh, this is going to be good. Look how many we've got going at once. That is kind of awesome, isn't it? Not quite as awesome as the final when we've got every minute them going, but not too bad. So 643. 3 more to get to our it's interesting that seems to be only 39 that went then. And we've just clicked over 2 minutes. There we go, that's number 40. Well, by 40 I mean 80, of course. And again, a massive launch. Okay, while this is going on, let's zoom back in. We can't zoom back to that level just yet. What we need to do is we need to see I mean, what I'm expecting is at the moment we're actually doing slightly better than 1 every 2 seconds, but it's going to slow down to 1 every 2 seconds because it can't supply at that rate with the materials we've got coming in. Oil should be able to. How is oil going? Doing it easily. Heavy's dropping a little bit, but quickly being refilled, I think. How is our sulfuric going? Sulfuric's up here, isn't it? There it is, sitting at 8. That's perfect. How is the supply of materials? The circuits to the beginning do seem to struggle a little, but these are pretty full anyway, so that doesn't seem to matter. Did I say I was going to do 5 minutes? That would give us about another 10 seconds. So maybe I need to stop it at this point then. 5 minutes are up. 725 at 5 minutes. So that was basically 260 in 5 minutes, which is close to 1 per second. But again, I don't think the factory can maintain that, just this top part. And if we start looking at the satellites, well, this is still all the way to the end. This one, it's still about where it was. So satellites seem... Actually, satellites seem to be fine. I did stop you, didn't I? Pretty sure. Just make sure they don't take off. they're not taking off. Yeah, if anything, actually, the electronics are the ones that have the biggest issue, and I can't compact these belts really any further. But that's a pretty good sign for our proper test when we have the entire factory going. We have to run for longer, of course, because I'm not going to rely on buffering. It has to be a sustained effort. And we have quite a bit of building to get to that point. I'm going to have a quick look at the health of some of our rail yards after draining a little bit that way. That's tin, which is starting to show a little sign of strain here and there, but otherwise fine. How's the iron here? It's actually doing okay. It'll be okay for a bit longer to rely on that iron, so that's alright. How is the copper? That's our... ooh. Our gold. We might actually... no. Yes, gold. We may have to find an alternate supply for gold. Because that is highly stressed. Not where I was expecting it to be. And copper. Ooh. Copper. Yeah. It's not going to last too long. We've already burnt out these back ones. Power is and was fine. Gonna have a look at our silicon supply. That's interesting. It's actually taken a bit of a hit. Quite a bit of a hit, in fact. I guess we can move while we're here. Give you some god modules before you waste all of that resource. But yeah, that's there is a little bit of extra there, but we might have to look into the quartz soon too. That's just tungsten and stuff like that, so we don't need to worry about it too much. We can probably do our rest of our tour like this. How's the coal? Yeah, it's beginning to thin. Those ones look okay. Coal's taking a bit of a knock. Right. These ones aren't tapped yet because they're for the bottom half of the factory. Well, folks, that was a taste of what we're in for when we finally get the whole factory online, except when we do that we'll be running it for quite a lot longer. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the test so far. I hope you enjoyed that. Looking forward to seeing you in the next as we continue to flesh out and finish the bottom half of the Mercer, the supply to the bottom half of the Mercer, and get back to a point where we can test the whole thing. Anyway, that's all for now. See you next time. Bye.